All right, welcome to Wealth Cartel, where hindsight's a motherfucker.
Our mission is to stop people saying, I wish I had listened, and to help people capitalise on everyone else's mistakes before making them themselves.
In summary, our tagline says it all: turn our hindsight into your foresight.
So we're just a couple of lads from the west and the central coast who grew up without really any wealth around us and used it to motivate us to make something of ourselves.
Along the way, mainly as we matured, we did a lot of things right, but more importantly, we made a lot of mistakes.
A lot of mistakes that could have been avoided by not being know-it-alls and actually listening to what others had told us instead of thinking, no, not me. So my name's Akko. I'm a small business owner with a bunch of franchises called Pen on Picasso at the moment, with large plans of building a large business portfolio.
I'm Kingy. I'm a financial advisor looking to break the mold on what good advice should look like and start teaching people how to enjoy life to the fullest while also planning for tomorrow out of my business, Three Kings Wealth Management.
All right, welcome to the Wealth Cartel. This is episode 8. We have the wonderful Alexandra McNally on the phone with us. We're all via Zoom today because everyone's doing their own weird shit today, so that's cool. Alex, we're going to try and get through as quick as we can today because she's on the road and we found a spot of reception. So Alex is a co-host on the The Millennials podcast. She's the director and the head boss lady at Alexandra McNally Group. She's a Coasty and an all-round property guru. Welcome to the Wealth Cartel podcast, Alex. How are you?
Oh, mate, I am thrilled. I am actually pumped. What a day to start the long weekend and be on another podcast. I'm so grateful for you guys to have me on board.
Yeah, we're stoked to have you. We were hoping to get Alex on in a couple of weeks. We had her lined up. We had her lined up at I think it was episode 12, but we had both of our main ones pulled through, and Alex is a legend who pulled through and made sure we can get an episode out this week. So we're pretty happy and pretty thankful for you to jump on. Otherwise, we would have had to probably listen to Dan talk shit for another hour over nothing. So that would have been good.
I'm about ready to go to the jet ski, mate. Leave me alone.
All right. So, Alex,
God, this is going to be funny. Jesus Christ.
He's a bit angrier when he's not in the studio. He can cut away a lot easier. All right, so today we're getting a tin in there. He probably does. He just does. He's going to hide it because he's PT's probably watching. No.
Oh, Jesus Christ. All right, let's kick it off.
Let's go. Let's do it.
All right, so Alex, we've done a little intro, a little funny laugh, about to you. Give us an intro on yourself. Tell us a bit about you, who you are, where you're from, and what life was like growing up and what you're doing now.
So I'm born and bred Coasty, Terrigal, that kind of thing. Family of 6 who are also kind of born and bred Coasty. I'm one of 4 girls, the youngest, and we've lived and breathed, I guess, Terrigal and. Oh, look, their actual background, my parents' background is like education. So they've gone through being teachers their entire lives. Now my sisters are teachers. So I'm like very much into I don't know, at least my family is into the teaching aspect of life. And I'm like the black sheep. So I started in property back when I was in high school, just educating myself with property. And I just fell in love, and that's kind of history. I've never looked back. So I started in real estate, went over to the dark side into building world, did a little bit of developer world, and now I'm back into the building world. So, I've seen time and time again what property can do for people and how it can actually give you that next leg up in life, apart from, your normal job. And I love being a part of that. Honestly, it's one of the best feelings to be able to be a part of someone's wealth creation. There's no other feeling like it for me.
Brilliant. And
so
what was life like growing up for you? What was life like growing up for you on the coast? What was that about?
It's funny you say that because I'm literally on the road driving back from Byron from a family holiday to then go to a different spot for another holiday because 2 of my siblings have just had kids. One's, pregnant again, but it was just, I came back from this holiday and it was like a 20-year reunion from what my family and I would do every year in these school holidays. So life was very interesting, very interesting. Obviously, as I said, I'm the youngest of 4 girls. So I have been, around female strength and female, wisdom my entire life and picked on for being the baby. But I wouldn't have it any other way, honestly. It's been a roller coaster with parents in the teacher world at a sister and brother school of where I went to school. So everything was kind of close knit. But a very, I guess, ordinary or run-of-the-mill kind of upbringing, but I wouldn't change it any other way. I mean, I got opportunities where some wouldn't, and I kind of took them. So I've always been an outlier, I guess, in the way of my family. So they kind of encouraged me to do what I need to do.
So tell us a bit, Alex, about, you said, your family was, you're the black sheep and your family is down the education path. So tell us a bit about when, why, how, and, what was the mindset shift, or what happened where you transitioned, instead of going down that path, what made you, and how did you do it, go towards, the path you're going now?
I guess I've always known, or I've always thought of myself as a non-academic. And being surrounded by academic people, like my family, I was always like, oh, well, stuff it, I can't compete with you guys, so I'm just going to run my own race. And in school, I was always about party this, lifestyle that, and, education is, great, I'm here and I've turned up and that's half the battle. But, to apply myself, I never really got school. The whole school curriculum was just not in line with how I learn. I'm a very hands-on kind of person, and so I gave up on school. I still completed year 12, but I gave up because it just wasn't the way that I was learning, I guess. So I knew I didn't want to be a failure at life, and when Mum put me through some property courses, I guess, I kind of found a calling doing that, and it was just very different to what my sisters did. But I think the turning point was realistically in year 11 or 12 in high school. I think because I wasn't focused on school, I was like, well, what else am I going to do? I can't party for the rest of my life. I mean, I could, and I still do.
Well, why not? Why not?
You're on the Wealth Cartel podcast. It's fine.
Yeah. We tell people to party, mate, not to stop. We just make sure they've got other money elsewhere too.
Yeah. And it's funny. Look, honestly, I've never partied so hard in my life than what I do right here, right now. I just party smarter. Oh, God.
So that can be a new motto: party harder and smarter.
Party harder and smarter.
Party smarter, not harder.
Yeah, but both. Don't you have to do both?
Oh, mate, Colin.
For sure.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
So I guess what we want to talk about today is we focus on turning our hindsight into other people's foresight, so they can learn from our lessons, and we'll go into it a bit more in depth in a minute. But we created this thing called the triangle of happiness, which we believe happiness is what life is about, or fulfillment even. And it's happiness is the equation to wealth. People think of wealth with money, but real wealth, you need to be happy in all areas. And we found the top three parts that they sort of come under is money, lifestyle, and health. You've got to balance all three, because there's no point having one without the other. So we're going to go into that a little bit more now in depth. And I think the first topic I want to talk about is money. Well, actually, before we get there, in general, looking back, what are some big lessons? And we'll go more in depth into each topic, but in general, looking back, what are some big moments in your life that shaped who you are, in the way of, whether it was a negative lesson or a positive lesson, things you did well, things you would have changed? What are some moments that, from a young age through to even recently, that you can pinpoint that really shaped where you are today, and what shaped who you are?
Seeing how Mum and Dad have done, like they had their full-time job being teachers, but they also did tutoring on the side. So they were doing about 3 or 4 hours of like their side hustle outside of the main, jobs that they both had, whilst raising 4 kids. Like, fuck knows how they did it, and I take my hat off to them, because we were terrors. And Mum and Dad had like 4 under 3.5. So that is, and there's no twins in there. So like that is full on. But I think just seeing their work ethics of, one of the major things that I actually took away from them was, after you get your paycheck, it's more about how you structure that paycheck and what you do with the money. So it's more about, you know, pay your bills obviously first, whatever. Save, have an absolute allocation of savings, and then spend the rest instead of spending and then having an allocation of savings at the end. And I think that was just completely instilled in me right throughout my high school years. And then I ended up buying my first home at 22. So I built it through the builder that I was working with, and that kind of gave me the stepping stone to, I guess, being more compassionate with my clients, and then, you know, creating a life for myself and living and breathing that lifestyle.
I think that's pretty a pretty cool timeline. Like, to be able to purchase your house so early, but also be in the building industry, which then gives you a leg up in regards to understanding what the client and the consumer is going through, because you've just gone through it. I feel like that would have given you a really good boost at a young age to understand fully what you were doing. You know, I think that's really important. Some people, you know, you fall into that, you stumble. It's not exactly your plan at 18 to be able to do those things. But
yeah.
I think like stuff like that can really shape you moving forward. You know, I feel like that would have been a massive stepping stone for you without even meaning it to be, you know?
And because I lost my job while doing the building thing as well at the same time. So meanwhile, like I've started the construction, lost my job at the same time, and still managed to proceed with, you know, holding the asset, funding the asset, and being able to survive that. So everything that could have gone wrong went wrong, and now I'm a better person for it, and I have so much more compassion for, you know, different circumstances that happen in people's lives because of the hard kind of scenarios that were put in front of me. So it is, I think, yeah, especially when you look at someone who's like blonde and a female in a male-dominated world and very young at the time as well, people kind of look down on you and go, well, what the do you know? And it's like, well, I've been there, done that. Like, come on, cop on, get on board, or fuck off.
Yeah, and I think that's really important. Tell us a bit about that lesson you learned. You know, losing your job, through all that. What was the lesson? What did that instill in you moving forward that you've carried through from that moment? That now, in, you know, obviously it's a challenge and you had to work through a challenge. What are the things that you really learned from that you've taken into everyday life or into more challenges to succeed even better?
The first thing that comes to mind is a big fuck you, I'll do it myself and I'll do it no matter what. And a big, you know, count on myself, accountability for myself, and tenacity for myself. And I think no matter what the obstacle is at hand, because we're all going to get it. Who could have predicted a pandemic the way that we're currently going through it? Like, you've got to,
Bill Gates,
you know,
apparently.
Well, that's because he's getting a little bit of something from it. So, yeah, digression.
Yeah. Well, I think I like that because like it happens to all of us, and this is a lesson we're trying to pass on is, you know, shit happens to everyone, and it's crazy how when life's good, you know, you really sometimes sit there and think, I can't do something. And it takes life to get real shit to actually teach you that you can do it in a heaps worse circumstance. And you look back and you go, fuck, I wish I had that. I wish I handled that situation when I was in a good, you know, when life was good. I would have killed it. You know what I mean? And that was a really good example. That's why I brought that up, because it's happened to me heaps.
I reckon too, once you start to, you know, believe in your own bullshit too, like a lot of people talk about mindset and getting and being positive and you know, doing the extras and lots of people in the world talk about doing it. But once you start listening to your own shit or listening to someone else's shit and actually adhering to it, all that becomes easier. Like the whole pandemic, don't get me wrong, it's a nightmare for most people. But the people getting through it the best, from what I can see, are the people with a positive mindset. And it's blatant. Like, it's not even like they're generally the ones with the most to lose, because, you know, they've put themselves out there, or they've taken risks, and they are entrepreneurs, or they are homeowners, or something along those lines. But generally, they're the most positive about it. And I'm starting to see it's more and more. The more I do these podcasts, the more people I speak to that are going okay. Generally, they're the ones that are going, well, it is what it is. Get on with it. Do what you got to do, and shut the fuck up and stop complaining.
Yeah, I think one of the things I just feel like.
No, keep going.
what I wanted to jump on that point for Alex, just before we lose that point, before we move on, is just because that's a really big lesson for Corona. You know, there's so many lessons people have been learned, but I noticed one of the things, especially the podcast with clients of mine that I see, where like this isn't the first time a crisis has happened, right? GFC was our last big one, you know. And what I've started to learn from people is you learn lessons in crisis, but the people who prosper, the people who take those lessons and learn from them, where everyone right now is learning from this lesson in Corona. And you like, this is why I touched on that point, Alex, because you could have easily learned from that lesson and then gone and fucked up and done it again and forgot and said it's different this time. You know, classic, you know, investor mindset of, nah, it's different this time. Whereas what I wanted to get out of that was you sounded like you'd learned some lessons and you'd instilled them to prosper better moving forward, which I think is really important for people to take from this crisis now and not just forget and think this will never happen again. You know, take what you learn from this and actually action it so it doesn't happen again. If it does happen, you can take opportunities, you know?
And it's so important that you say that as well, because everyone is disposable of. Every single person, no matter how good you are for a goddamn company. Look at what they did to CEOs and everything else, like for and top salespeople at the height of the pandemic, right? They just went, all right, we'll need to cut costs, you know, this, that, everything else. And so many people were so easily removed from a company. So you've got to self-educate. You've got to rely on yourself as much as possible to create, like gone are the days of a single, you know, single job. Someone who is reliant on one income is fucking stupid. I'm sorry, but you are. If you are only reliant on one job, then that's setting yourself up for a failure. You've got to have, you know, side things that are going for you. Make your money work for you, and you've got to figure out how to do it. No one else is going to do it for you, and it's about teaming up with the right people like yourselves to educate, to, you know, handhold through it if that's what you need. But to kind of not depend on a business to give you income. So I think, what we've gone through is a larger awakening of being so sleepy. If that's a way to think about it.
I think one of the biggest things I've seen during the whole thing is people finally waking up though as well. On the contrary to that, you are right. You know, you need to have nothing. The only thing that's really that secure from an income point of view is government based. And when I say government based, I mean like your AFP or military, right? Outside of that, nothing's really given. But what I've seen on the contrary is finding people who are too far the other way, you know, too much risk, thinking that you could take as much risk as you want, nothing happening. I think we're really finding that, we're really going to, off the back of this, hopefully see a lot of merging. You know, a lot of people that were too risky can actually think now and go, shit, can I afford the risk I'm taking? The people who weren't risky enough going, fuck, I need to do something. You know, I need to, because sitting on your ass and doing nothing and hope and banking on one paycheck is a risk within itself, you know?
Yeah, agreed.